Alright, let's kick some shell in the Ninja Turtles' first appearance on the Sega Genesis, the HYPERSTONE HEIST, released in 1992 by Konami. But first of all, the vitally important character selection.
Let's kick shell!
Yeah, you know, I think what Ninja Turtle you choose has a lot to do with your personality. Donatello's the most logical choice. I mean, he's got a big bow staff. Or maybe you're some kind of smartass who doesn't care about anything, so you might be more into Raph. And party dudes just have to pick Mike because, well, he's a party dude. And finally, anyone with control issues or obsessions with cutting stuff, good old Leonardo. Well, I guess I'm in a stabbing mood, so let's do this. So HYPERSTONE HEIST is pretty similar to Turtles in Time, the second installment in the Ninja Turtles series of classic arcade beat-em-ups. The core gameplay is fully intact here, along with most of the character animations and even levels and bosses from the game find their way into this Genesis exclusive. And with Turtles in Time getting a near flawless port on the Super Nintendo around the same time as this game's release, this version has always had to deal with the inevitable comparisons between the two platforms. So besides an all-new stereotypical Ninja Turtles plot where, big surprise, Shredder's trying to take over the world, the HYPERSTONE Heist has 5 stages that consist of some of the levels from Turtles in Time in combination with some new areas. While the number of stages might seem much lower, they do last a bit longer, and they provide a similar length of total gameplay. And the satisfying beat-em-up action hasn't changed a bit, as you smash your way through mobs of mindless Foot Clan robots, but in this case, there is a button used to dash, and unfortunately you can't throw enemies into the screen anymore. Also, some minor adjustments to the AI have been made from the SNES version, as enemies are a little more fighty, especially when set on hard mode. But the overall amount of damage that you take has decreased to balance that out. So in general, the Sega version might be slightly more difficult, but it's still pretty easy once you learn the patterns of the enemies and the bosses. The differences in graphics and sound due to console limitations are also worth noting. Even though the Genesis lacked the expanded color palette and Mode 7 graphics utilized for the Super Nintendo port, the colors here look pretty good. They're a bit brighter than the more subdued tones of Turtles in Time. The developers also took some extra effort with more detail in character animations and additional layers of parallax scrolling in some levels. As far as the sound goes, it definitely has that unmistakable Genesis texture to it, which, love it or hate it, it has a more brash and rugged edge to the sound effects and music, especially the voice samples. So if you're comparing this to Turtles in Time, some people might like to claim allegiance over one or the other, but I'd say that both games are fantastic arcade beat-em-ups. While the HYPERSTONE Heist may have had its share of technical limitations, I think Konami did the best with what they had, and did a commendable job of adapting it into a slightly different and still bossa nova experience for the Sega Genesis.